And also a final really important shout out to Will Stahl-Timmins, who has produced these fantastic infographics, and that in itself is an enormous innovation. So the credit must go to those people and others who've also helped on the BMJ team. I just thought I'd reflect back about how we got to this. The guidelines, clinical guidelines, have been around for some time, obviously, but I'm old enough to remember textbooks and how we used to all learn our medicine from textbooks. We knew at the time that they were 10 years out of date, but we still had them and loved them and passed our exams on the basis of them. Then we had CDs, if you remember those, which were a huge innovation, where you could actually capture this slightly more updated information, but it was always very selective. The risk was that it was selective, and Cochrane was coming forward in that time to try to be much more systematic in this. So Cochrane systematic reviews from the early 90s onwards, out of which we at the BMJ built a product called Clinical Evidence, which was intended to help clinicians and patients make informed decisions and to let them know what was where there was evidence and where there wasn't. And NICE guidelines, of course, very, very important internationally and in the UK, as a next step in the very best quality of guidelines. But all clinical guidelines struggled to keep up to date and struggled to add new evidence. And you know, having good processes meant that there were delays, and those things seemed inevitable. So this initiative that MAGIC has brought to us is immensely important, and the learning that has gone on in the process of developing the MAGIC app and the rapid recommendations and the living systematic reviews has really been immense, and we owe everyone involved an enormous debt of gratitude, and I think it will only go to greater and better things. Just to articulate some of the achievements, both in the guideline itself and in the evidence syntheses. The guideline, I think one of the things that have impressed me is the processes behind them, which have taken a step forward in a number of fronts. One is obviously how the evidence has been evaluated. Another is the strict conflict of interest policies that have been applied to these guidelines in the creation of the guidelines from the evidence. And I think that's something certainly the BMJ has been very keen to promote for many, many years. And trying to really understand how we deal with conflict of interest, who can and can't be involved in decision making, and really trying to make these guidelines as independent as possible has been a hugely important part of this project. And another crucial part has been the involvement of patients and members of the public. This is again is a thing that the BMJ has been working on over a number of years, and it's been a real delight to see that the MAGIC BMJ collaboration has really put that at the forefront of the way these guidelines have been presented. A third achievement, I think, is the format. I've mentioned the infographics. We know that they're incredibly popular. They are very usable on social media. We've had them reprinted in a number of different forms. They really are a hugely helpful thing about getting the information through to people who need to see it, and just making it feel much more accessible. What the BMJ, I think, has brought as an achievement is the reach that we've been able to bring to this. You know, one of the things that we bring as publishers is dissemination, international dissemination, and international audience. We've made the guidance free, which we're delighted to do. I mean, it's tricky for us because obviously we have to bring in revenue for the journal as well, but it seemed to us that this was important, especially through COVID. And they have reached a really, really wide readership and really, really wide audience, both in healthcare and amongst the general public. And we're also able to bring the fact that when you publish something, that's not the end of the game. Often it's just the beginning. And so that post-publication debate, what do people think? Do they think this is right? What else do we need to do? And that's been a very interesting to have the discussion ongoing. So those are the achievements I wanted to talk about around the guidance. Around the research evidence, the systematic reviews themselves, obviously the huge achievement is the living systematic review, and this has been no small enterprise. The benefits these bring: reducing research waste, reducing redundant publication, increase the rapid sharing of information in rapidly developing research areas. And obviously at the time of the pandemic, this has been an immensely important thing to be able to do on the top of some fantastic research that's been done, for example, on the recovery platform and other big trial platforms. with the partnership with WHO, who've been quite fantastic in working with MAGIC, with BMJ, and bringing the living guidance to the COVID treatments has been a really impressive thing. So it's kind of rather like with medRxiv, our preprint server that we work with others on. Living guidance, living systematic reviews have absolutely hit their stride at the time when we most needed them. I want to talk before moving on from those achievements, which I think we should absolutely celebrate, are some challenges which will help us to think about what the future holds. For the living systematic reviews, we've always wanted to bring the same rigorous processes to those as we would to any article that we publish, which means doing it at speed, dealing with, liaising with the authors, with peer reviewers, with statisticians, with technical editors, with the production team. That's just a business as usual challenge, if you like. But the specific challenge of adapting our publishing processes from the traditional ones of a single manuscript being an event which stays the same in time, and then it exists and it has its own integrity, to a manuscript which can be updated, making changes, reposting, and dealing with the citation trail, making sure that that's all clear, what's happened and when. That's been a challenge, and the team have done a brilliant job on making that possible. There's issues of capacity. Simply for us as a journal, we only publish 200 research articles a year. The output from MAGIC, and certainly through the COVID pandemic, has been really phenomenal. But I'm very delighted to say that we have just launched, Sophie Cook with its editor-in-chief, BMJ Medicine, a new open access multi-specialty journal, which sits right within the BMJ family. So the BMJ Medicine, and BMJ Open as the large multi-specialty journal beneath that. So we have now a really true cascade for the research that can find a home if the BMJ don't feel it's right for the BMJ. BMJ Medicine and then BMJ Open stand ready to take good systematic reviews and to work with the living systematic review process. So that's going to help with capacity. Clearly, a huge issue has been funding. MAGIC has done a great job of generating funding. It's obviously been a struggle, continues to be a struggle. We likewise, as I've said, have made the evidence. The evidence is free anyway because we're open access on that front, but we've waived open access fees and we've made the guidance free. These are all things which we do because we think it's the right thing to do, but it doesn't always help with our bottom line. So funding is an important issue that we all need to try to work on to help to make this initiative the new normal, which is what it should be. And then there's the academic rewards. How do we truly reward those involved in the living systematic reviews and the guidance, because it's huge amounts of work and they aren't standard outputs in the usual way. And the academic rewards bodies are going to need to find ways to genuinely reward the academic work that goes into this. Much of what I've described has been published in an editorial we put in the BMJ that Helen MacDonald, Elizabeth Loader and Cameron Abbasi wrote in July 2020. And that sort of sets out the process for living systematic reviews and what we hope for from the future. So moving on to the future, I think one of the great things about this initiative has been the collaboration, the teamwork, working across organizations, the general good faith and commitment to working transparently and really working together on this. So I very much hope and expect that will continue, and want to thank everyone who's been able to make that happen. The learning, obviously, likewise, mutual learning, and not only for us, but for those who make use of the outputs, and the innovation. I've been saying for a long time, but it hasn't happened in my lifetime as an editor, that research shouldn't really be in journals at all. It should be on open access databases, we're moving in that way, but it's happening very slowly. People are very wedded still to the publication process, the academic reward, accountability, and the academic reward that comes from publishing in a peer-reviewed journal. But I think the future of guidelines, and the MAGIC app already sets things out in a way that one can see the way forward, is for research to be published in a timely fashion and a transparent fashion on open access databases. And then perhaps rather like the physics community does, publishing in peer-reviewed journals as a next step. So dissemination and then evaluation, if that makes sense. So I think that's where I would see the future. And I think really we're keeping at heart the aims of all of this, which continue to be improving patient care, improving shared decision making, and improving the quality of research, transparency and relevance and rigor of research. So I think this is a fantastic initiative, proud to be part of it, and many thanks for involving us, and best of luck with the rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Fiona. Thank you. Thanks for sharing your thoughts and for being available on such a busy day. And thank you for this huge collaboration. Really, like you said, co-creation with all members of your team. And I really very much liked when you said this becoming the new normal. How can we invite others to do similar work? I wonder if there is one question in the audience, because since you're leaving, I want to give someone a chance. Is there a question for Fiona?
I wonder. I mean, I just see Kat is there, who's yeah. Holding the baby. Kat's holding the baby for Rapid Rex at the moment. Do you want to say something, Kat?
No, thanks, Fee. I'd rather give someone the opportunity to question you, but thank you for the invitation.
Is there any question in the audience? No. If not, I'd like to thank you again very much, Fiona Godlee, and hope to talk soon.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. So we'll move to the next